So every goal from the 9 games played in the Champions League tonight between now and 11 o'clock in the courtesy of and company of these 3 wise men. But let's start our roundup in Monaco. Manchester City led, but were pegged back, Glenn Hoddle and Mike Maine. So point gained or 2 dropped, do you think?
I think Manchester City will see that as 2 drop, particularly from the dominant stance they had in terms of possession. The number and the size of the chances they had as well. Erling Haaland was brilliant in the first half. Second half, they hit the bar through Tijani Reinders as well. And they always had that flow about them. It was measured, but there was a consistency about Manchester City's approach. But you felt, Glenn, for as long as Manchester City were only ever 1 ahead, Monaco, towards the end, felt they would get a chance. I know there's controversy about the chance they got with the penalty, but they kept themselves in the game.
Hey, listen, they were always in the game. They created. Balogun should have scored, you know, when he sneaks around the back. But at the end of the day, they'll be kicking themselves. City had so much possession, they could have won 3 football matches. And it wasn't until they went to 2-2 where there's suddenly become an urgency about their passing and their movement off the ball in the last 7 minutes. And, you know, that wasn't enough. It was the second half, it was like, well, we'll get the third. But they didn't. And Monaco kept pushing, and in the end, the penalty comes, and Dyer puts it in, and they get a point out of it. I thought Monaco tactically played excellent. They really did well. They got behind the ball and they broke, and they looked dangerous on the break as well. But City, my word, they had, you know, Haaland. They didn't create another chance for him in the second half. That was the problem. If you give him a chance, he'll put it in.
We just both sat here trying to work out just before we spoke to you guys what did Haaland do in the second half. The answer isn't really that much in the first half. Brilliant. The 2 goals that you've just seen were absolutely incredible and typical Erling Haaland in his approach. But second half, Monaco marshalled him well.
Yeah, and it was a bit chaotic, that whole scene around the penalty, wasn't it? I know there was a couple of red cards flourished towards members of the coaching staff, and obviously the referee, in conjunction with his compatriot in the VAR booth, in the end decided that there was enough contact on Dyer for the penalty to stand. Any cause for complaint, do you think, from a City point of view? Was it harsh?
Well, I'll tell you how Glenn phrased it in commentary. So-called penalty. So that probably says where Glenn's thinking is.
It's a dangerous, you know, to put your foot up there, but when a ball is played in where it was from a free kick, you're going to defend it. If you can get your foot to it, you've got to do it, because your teammates turn around and say, well, why didn't you clear it? So he goes up. It's in a dangerous position because Dyer's going for the header, but he actually plays the ball first, and that's the key for me. If he gets no touch on it at all, I can understand it's dangerous play and a penalty given, but he actually gets a touch on the ball. And for me, I mean, this is the modern-day game. It's, you know, I don't know what is a penalty nowadays. I really don't.
I'll say they were consistent, because early in the second half, Ruben Diaz went up with his foot just outside the centre circle. I know you've got your issues with this, Glenn, as well, but he went up with his foot. Ruben Diaz didn't make contact, yet the free kick was given. Yeah. So whether what they have done, in fairness to the officials, is given themselves a boundary, a marker, and gone with that.
I just think the key is he made contact. Nico made contact. Diaz first half didn't make contact, it was dangerous play. But in those circumstances, your instinct as a defender is to defend the ball. The ball's going into your penalty area. Dyer was lined up to head it, and he actually gets a flick on it with his foot. Be it head height, it's a dangerous area, but my word, you know, the rules are, you know, so solid now, and I don't understand. There's no instinct about the ruling.
Well, it shows you how different referees see different games, doesn't it? Think back to Sunday, Nick Pope with Victor Gyökeres. Pope touched the ball onto Gyökeres, and no penalty was given after review. Tonight, Nico gets to the ball first, but takes Eric Dyer in the aftermath, and the penalty's given.
Yeah, well, many a City and Arsenal fan will make that point, won't they?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Glenn there. The referee needs to... We didn't feel like a penalty, and like if the ball's coming in there at that pace, you have to defend it. I understand last night the João Pedro one where he didn't kick the guy, but it was unnecessary in the middle of the park. You know, I can understand why the ref booked him. I can understand it because he was being a little bit rash, but you have to defend it. You have to defend it, and he's got the touch on it, and he's clipped Eric Dyer. You know, if you watch the replay, it's not like it's a full throttle. I've seen players get knocked out from there before, but it wasn't.
What are you laughing at, big fella?
It's an extreme place to go, that.
Well, you know, it's just...
It doesn't have to be concussion to be a penalty, does it? I don't think.
I'm from a player who stayed out of all of that nonsense, heading the ball in the box.
Exactly.
And listen, I was not anywhere near that, and neither did I want to be. But I'd like my defenders to put their heads and their bodies on the line for me, and then give me the ball in the right areas of the pitch. Glenn, am I right?
Absolutely, mate. You'd have been in the wall, wouldn't you? The two-man wall out wide.
Yeah, or lying down. There's none of that heading.
He'd have been ready for the counter-attack, that's for sure. Will Pep, Glenn, be frustrated with how that's not just the penalty, but the whole thing?
Yeah, I think he will. I think he'll be annoyed because they had so much possession and they played at a very slow pace, actually. They controlled the game like they normally do, but they needed just to... In the first half, they looked dangerous because they were patient, and then suddenly they came alive and they went into another gear. Didn't really happen until it went to 2-2, and it was too late then.
Great stuff, fellas. I hope we've kept you just long enough for the casino to be shut, but I suspect we haven't, so best of luck to you both. Thank you very much.
Good night, chaps.
Glenn and Mike, fascinating. And they are seeking balance, aren't they, this new Manchester City? And Glenn talked about the fact that he obviously tried to exert control, had plenty of possession, but couldn't squeeze the life out of Monaco.
No, they couldn't. Monaco always felt like they were in the game, and it just takes a little chance like that, and especially in the Champions League. Like I say, there will be many games they'll dominate. 5-1 at the weekend, they won 4-0, I think, opening day at Wolves. There's going to be games, no doubt, in the Premier League or the domestic cups where they're going to be very comfortable, but just at the ones that are at a real level right now, they're just not quite closing them out how they'd like to. But as we talked about, I think they're going to find a way.
Yeah, I mean, let's get it right, I suppose, with maybe tougher tests to come. If you win at home and draw away, every chance to be top 8.
Yeah, of course. Rodri coming off after an hour, when we said probably because right now you can't play 90 minutes without being a bit risky.
Doku came off as well.
Doku came off at the same time, and once Rodri goes off, because Nico is not at the same level, that's when the team as well start to, I think, struggle a little bit more defensively.
Yeah, OK. Let's hear from the man who did score 2 tonight, 16 for the season, from not many touches. Here's Erling Haaland.
Erling, you're coming off the pitch, shaking your head, looking frustrated. How do you feel after that?
Of course, don't feel good. We don't win. We do something unnecessarily in the second half, and I don't think we play good enough. So we don't deserve to win, and yeah, that's why.
You say you didn't play well. What do you think was missing from your performance then?
I think we need more energy. We need to get at them more as we did in the first half. We dominated much more, and now in the second half they took the lead much more, and I don't think it's good enough.
Did you have any complaints with the foul that led to the penalty?
I didn't see it again, but I don't know. If you kick someone in the face, I guess it's a penalty. I don't know. I didn't see it.
I know, obviously, you're probably not going to want to talk about it, but obviously another 2 goals for you. The first one coming with your first touch of the game. As a striker, in the first half, you only had 7 touches, 2 of those were goals. Are we underestimating how difficult that is when you're not involved in the game, but to then go and score 2 goals like that?
I still think I'm involved in the game, doing movements and giving space to others. So it's not only about touching the ball if you're involved in the game or not. I think you can be involved in the game many other ways, and that's my job. I did my job in the first half. In second half, I didn't. So yeah.
You don't think you did your job in the second half?
Oh, of course, no. I didn't score. I didn't finish the game. So no.
Does this just prove how tough away games are in the Champions League, Erling?
Every Champions League game is tough. Look at last year, we went out. So every single game is tough, and yeah, there's not many teams who won their first 2 games, and that's how it is.
Thank you so much.
Just stay there.
Erling Haaland with Olivier Pozzaglo. And as always, he's honest, and there's plenty to take from it. First of all, I suppose you both as players thought, well, hang on, you don't have to touch the ball to affect a game, do you? And he doesn't have to do that.
No, I think he's in a spiky mood there.
Yeah.
He's disappointed.
Yeah.
I think he would have took that differently if the result was different, but his back's up, he's disappointed with his team. But I totally agree with him, when you're playing, it's obviously not about me, but there's many games that I've played in a dominant team and you've not necessarily touched the ball, and people are like, oh, how do you keep yourself entertained? No, you're constantly moving, constantly involved. And he's talked about the movements, the stress that he's causing on that back line. Can he make the runs? Can they find him? You've got to remember, Monaco, they built the wall tonight. They made it as difficult as they could. They had players out and they went, we're going to defend deep. So Haaland's constantly probing. And he knows he's got to be peak when he gets that chance, just like he is there.
That's a good point. You goal scorers, you see the highlights. You don't see the runs and the movement and the athleticism and the intelligence and the timing and the, unique area of the pitch, goalkeeper and strikers, when you can be not as engaged in the game, but do 5 or 6, 7
So stats
important
can be
movements.
misleading.
Yeah.
Hey, if it was that easy, everyone would do it,
Of
trust
course.
me.
Yeah.
Everyone would
And-
want to be a striker
Yeah,
scoring
and there aren't many
30,
Haalands.
30, 40 a season.
The other point he makes about lacking energy in the second half, that we should have played more like the first half. Point?
Yeah, it's a fair point. It's a fair point. But when we talked about Manchester City trying to find balance, when you're trying to find balance, if you got your scales, you're going to try to go a little bit this way, then you go a little bit that way, and there's always a little bit of pain. And I just think that's what Manchester City and Pep are going through at the moment. They're just, they're like maybe not finding that rhythm in the second half to see out games. A little bit of nervousness creeps in before they can build their confidence up. So I have no doubt they'll qualify at this Champions League with that quality. I have no doubt they'll be pushing in the Premier League. I just think it's just going to be... There's too much quality around there. Too much.
It's a good point. I've noticed, though, that post 10 o'clock, Joe Cole, there's often a culinary element to the analogy. There's a bit of this, bit of that.
The scales come out there. Oh, here we go.
He's hungry.
Yeah.
Maybe it's that, Jules.
Yeah, he's
Listen,
hungry.
it's a different man after the watershed. You know that.
I do know that. It makes me very nervous.